Hey, what's up, everybody? This is Russell Brunson. Welcome back to the show. Excited to be hanging out with you guys today, and mostly excited because today I can talk about one of my favorite topics of all time, and excited to go deep on it with you guys. Now, the title I have for this presentation, for the video, for the podcast, whatever you want to call it, is it's the master key that unlocks all success. And I've been geeking out over the last, honestly, 2 decades of my life, 3 decades of my life, trying to figure out how to be successful in wrestling and then in business, other things in my life, my family, with my kids, like all sorts of stuff. Like I geek out on it. I buy a lot of books. I study. I go like to the, the obsessive compulsive level. I think I'm at like 18,000 books I bought in the last 2 years, all based on success. So I'm into it deep, and I want to simplify so much of it for you guys because there's a lot of stuff, and you can get down the weeds and the rabbit holes. But there's some things that are really, really simple, and you understand them. It literally is the key. I'm calling it the master key. Napoleon Hill's he has a course called Master Keys. Charles Hannel has a course called Master Keys. Both these guys have courses from way back in the early 1900s. But this for me is like my version of that. This is the master key that when you understand this and you plug it in and you use it, it can literally unlock all your success in any area of your life. I don't care if you're trying to be more successful as an entrepreneur, as a father, as a wife, as a spouse, as an athlete, like whatever it is, like this key is the key, and it's so simple and so powerful after you understand it. And so I want to spend some time going deep into today. So if you guys are cool with that, I'm going to jump right in. I got 3 core things I'm going to talk about. Each one will go kind of deep on because they all kind of build upon the other. So make sure you don't skip to the end, or make sure you don't miss anything, because the first one builds on the second, which builds on the third, and then you place all 3 of them together. It's like, oh, that's the secret. That's the whole key. And so that's kind of the game plan that we're going to go deep into right now. So hopefully you guys have fun with that. Hopefully you're okay with that, because it's going to be a lot of fun for me, and I just enjoy talking about this stuff. So let me know in the comments down below if you're cool with that, and if so, I'm going to jump right in. Okay, so the first thing you got to understand, this is one of my favorite things to study and to learn about, is understanding the difference between the conscious mind and the subconscious, okay? I talk a lot about this. If you've ever been to my Selling Online event, I go deep in this, but from a standpoint of like helping, learning how to sell people stuff, right? Because I'm having a conscious conversation with somebody, but if I want to sell them, I'm actually speaking in a way that I'm speaking directly to their subconscious mind, because that's what gets them to break their false belief patterns, gets them to move, and you have to understand how to do that. So I have a whole event about that, like in context of selling. But this one, I want to explain it in context for you just understanding your life and why you do the things you do and why you sometimes don't do the things you want to do, right? And it all comes down to this conscious and subconscious, like how these two minds of ours work, okay? And I'm not gonna get deep into like the science behind it. I just want you guys to understand what you need to understand to be successful with it, okay? So the first thing you understand is that like by default, when we're born as kids, like we're blank slates, right? And everything we're learning is patterns. We're learning these patterns, and they get ingrained into our body, into our mind. And that's the really what's happening. So consciously we decide like, hey, I want to go do this thing, and like, I think one of the easy examples to think about is like, let's say when you wanted to learn a car the first time, right? You jump behind the car and you're consciously have to be aware of all these things, right? Okay, here's the steering wheel, here's the clutch. If you're, old school like me, or like, here's the things, here's the radio, and so like all these things, you're driving, you're trying to stay within the lines, and you're like consciously keep going back and forth, like, stay in the line, you go back and forth, and you're trying to figure out where you're going, and you've got a map, and you're consciously doing all this stuff. That's why the very first time that you drive somewhere, it's really hard, it's a really difficult thing, right? But then what happens is we do it once, we do it a second time, a third time, and a fourth time, right? We keep consciously doing it, but consciously we're doing this thing, but it builds a subconscious pattern, right? And so eventually you jump in the car and you start driving, and you don't even know what's happening. Like your brain's consciously thinking about something else. All these things are happening, and your subconscious mind's like, I know how to get into the office, and boom, you show up to the office, right? And you get out of your car, you're like, how did I get here? Like, I don't know how I even got here. Or sometimes you think you're going to go somewhere else, but then you stop paying attention. Your subconscious mind will take you to where, you end up at the office. Like, I was trying to go to church. Like, what just happened, right? Because it's the pattern's so there. And so I always say is consciously, I want to go this place. Subconscious mind takes over. The pattern happens, and then boom, we just go, okay? And so these patterns happen over and over and over again. Like the first time we do something, it's consciously. Second time, it's consciously. Third time, we keep doing it over and over and over again until it becomes a pattern and then becomes part of us, okay? In sports athletics, a lot of times they call this muscle memory, right? Again, I didn't understand conscious or subconscious back then, but I was competing as an athlete. That's what they said. Like, you got to drill something so many times that it becomes muscle memory. It's just part of you, right? And that's what they're talking about, right? When I was in wrestling practice, I consciously would sit with the coach, and they would say, okay, here's how you do a single leg, right? And you go through, here's where the arm goes and the other arm, and we walk through all the pieces, right? And then we drill it, and we drill it, and we drill it. And we'll drill that same move hundreds and hundreds, if not thousands of times, right? And it's like, it's not that hard to get the move, right? But what I'm doing is I'm taking this consciously, I'm turning it into a subconscious reaction, right? And so I know that like when somebody moves this way, right? I'm not thinking, okay, the person stepped here, now I'm gonna go take a shot, right? Instead, what happens is you've done it so many times that your subconscious mind just feels it, all of a sudden it's like there's less pressure, something's opening here, something's moving, and you don't even know what's happening, but boom, your subconscious mind, because you've drilled it so many times, consciously, it's become subconscious, now your subconscious mind just takes it and it happens. Okay, and it's really, really fascinating. And the reason why it's so important, I was doing some studies and looking this up, like the speed of our conscious mind versus our subconscious mind. It's like our conscious mind can handle, like, I think it's like 50 bits per second or something like that, where our subconscious is like 400 billion bits per second. Like it's insane. In fact, the stat I found, and there's a bunch of different stats, they all kind of conflict a little bit, but basically it was 27,500 times faster. Like that's the speed difference, right? And so when I started wrestling again as an old man, I started going to these tournaments. It was crazy because I get out there to start wrestling, and I'd be wrestling out there. All of a sudden I see the move, I'm like, there's the move, like his leg's open. But I'm very conscious, right? Because I haven't been doing it. So I was conscious. I go to shoot, and I'm like slow. And by the time I'm like halfway there, the guy's leg's already gone because I move so slow, right? That's what's happening when we're conscious. Okay, but when you get back to the spot, you're drilling, it gets in your subconscious. You're not thinking, you're just out there playing, you're having fun. All of a sudden, it's like, boom, you just go because you felt it. And subconsciously, 27,500 times faster, right? That much faster, boom, your brain just subconscious goes, right? That's why they always talk about, like, if you're in your head, you're dead. Because like as an athlete, if you're in your head, you're consciously thinking, okay, what do I do now? What do I do now? Right? It's when you get out of conscious and into subconscious, that's when you get into flow state, and you can do so much more because your subconscious is so much faster because it's built patterns, and you've done those patterns so many times that just that part of your brain takes over, and it's so much faster than your conscious mind. Okay, so anytime you're doing things consciously, that's when you struggle. I see this happening when I'm speaking on stage. If I'm on stage and I'm very conscious, like I'm like too slide driven or too much, like I get out of the rhythm, and it's just hard to explain. Where like I'll get in a spot where I'm doing something, and also like I don't know what happens. I feel like something else takes over. And it's a different experience. Like I can tell the times that I'm teaching consciously versus subconsciously. And when I'm teaching subconsciously, like that's when magic happens. Like people are crying, like things are happening, like, and it's hard to get to that point, but it's just tons and tons and tons of repetition that transitions you from conscious to subconscious, right? And so it's the key. Now, a couple things to note. And this is going to set up the next part, so it's important to understand this. I had a really good coach one time, and he asked everyone, we're practicing the same thing over and over and over again. He says, what do you guys know about practice? And some of my team's like, practice makes perfect. And my coach was like, well, that's not actually true. I'm like, what are you talking about? Then why are we practicing all day, right? We're trying to get perfect. And he said, perfect practice makes perfect. Okay. So this is what happened. I see this every jump, right? I wrestled in middle school. I wrestled in high school. I wrestled at college. I wrestled I trained at Olympic level, never got to compete at that level, but I trained there. So like, what's interesting is that each level, what happens is you come in with your good habits and your bad habits, right? So as a kid, I'm learning a single leg, and my coaches, my dad, everyone's like just trying to get me to actually shoot, like just shoot and grab their legs, right? So I do it, and eventually I get better. I get pretty good at it because I've done it so many times, and like I have some success. I'm aggressive, so like I start winning some matches that way. And it's like, cool, I'm good on my feet, right? I'm good at shooting and taking people down. Then I get to the high school level, and also go out there and like I didn't realize this, but I have bad habits. I'm standing too straight, my elbows are out. Like it didn't affect me at this level because the kids weren't that good. But the next level, those kids who are better than me, like they pick it apart really easy. Like you're out of position, you're out of stance, it's really easy to beat me. So like I have to go back and relearn the pattern. Like I have this pattern that I've been doing in middle school, right? I go to high school, and the pattern doesn't work anymore, right? So I have to break the pattern, I have to redo it. So I have to come back, I have to relearn how to shoot, how to keep my elbows in, how to keep my arms small, how to keep like in stance, like, and then I shoot over. And so all through high school for the next 4 years, I'm drilling, and I'm building this new muscle memory, right? It gets better and better and better, the spot where I get to a certain level, right? For me, it was like I became a state champ, went to nationals, took second place in the country. Like I was really good, right? And then I got a college scholarship. So I go to college, I show up the very first day, and again, I'm a state champ, I'm second place in the country, All-American. Like I think I'm gonna just kill everyone. I walk in this room with these college kids, and I get destroyed. And it was humbling for me, like, what just happened? Like I'm really good. Like how are these guys beating me so bad? And I realized it's because I had been practicing to that level, but I was out of position in so many places I didn't know. Right? I get to the next level, and it's like, these guys are so much better that like I can't do things sloppy. My hips are out. These like little tiny little nuances like changed everything. So I had to go learn how to rebuild these patterns in a way where I could beat the guys at the next level. Okay. And so I saw it so much in wrestling, every single area I'd go to. Right. But the key was like understanding first off that by just by default, you have these patterns, right? From whatever level you are. Okay. Now, obviously, I'm sure I got a handful of wrestlers listening to this. Most of you guys aren't wrestlers. Most of you guys are entrepreneurs who are listening. And so I want to liken this to entrepreneurship, right? And just any area of your life, actually, with your family, with your kids, with anyone, right? We have these patterns. And the patterns started when we were young, right? And we don't remember consciously making these, but they happened, right? And so the pattern, it could be all sorts of things. Tony Robbins talks about, when you're a little kid and you're trying to get attention, trying to get love and stuff. And all of a sudden, like, one kid goes and he trips and makes everyone laugh. And he's like, that day a comedian was born. Because you saw the pattern, like, oh, I tripped, they laughed, I'm going to do that again. And so you start doing funny things, and like, that's how you get love, right? And someone else, like, they tried a bunch of things and their family wasn't paying attention to them, and they went and they achieved something, right? And all of a sudden, like, they had success achieving, and he's like, that day an achiever was born, right? Because like, if I achieve something, something's going to happen. So like, we start building these patterns just based on things that are happening, right? As when we're 2 years old, 3 years old, 5 years old, 10 years old, right? We don't even know they're happening, but these patterns start happening, right? And a lot of times these patterns will serve you in some areas of your life and they will hinder you in other areas of life, okay? But you're showing up to your life right now with a whole bunch of patterns that have been programmed, right? It's me wrestling in middle school, doing something that got me through life. Now I'm trying to operate at this level and my pattern is wrong, okay? It was okay, it was good enough to let me win at that level, but I'm at the next level now and like, I just keep failing and I don't understand why. I'm so confused, right? And so that's the first step to understand, is that this is what's happening in our whole brain. There's this conscious thing we want to do, and we're building subconscious patterns, right? And the subconscious patterns, if done correctly, will lead you to the next level of success. If done incorrectly, will hold you back, okay? And again, a lot of times it's something that served you, which is why it's so frustrating. It served me for so long, but now it's not serving me, right? And it's understanding that, and it's coming back to say, okay, I'm in a pattern that's not correct, right? My subconscious programming that got me to this level is not getting me to the next level. I got to fix that. Okay, and this is where most people make the mistake when they want success, is they're trying to figure out, like, I work harder, I got to do more things, I got to, and it's like, no, usually it's not that. Usually it's fixing this pattern that you're struggling with, okay? So that's the first step, is understand that, okay? Now I'm going to move into step number 2, which is kind of building upon this, right? Step number 2 then is understanding patterns. And man, we had Funnel Hacking Live 2 or 3 weeks ago, whenever it was. Tony Robbins came and spoke at the very end of the event. And as Tony does, he shares a million cool things, but he shared one of the things I've heard him talk about a lot. It's one of my favorite things, but it's understanding patterns. He's like, patterns are the key to everything in life, right? Like when you start understanding, like everything's happening as a pattern. Somebody punches you, you instantly are going into a pattern, right? You're subconsciously moving to a pattern. You get a bad email in the morning, you instantly hit a pattern. Somebody says something to you, like someone honks at you, like a million different things, right? You're scrolling on Facebook and something happens, or Instagram or YouTube, and like these patterns are just automatically being fired off from things that you've been doing for the last, how old you are right now, all those years, these subconscious patterns that you've built to like survive life have been in the program, right? And so what's happening is like these patterns keep happening and then you react to them and you don't even know, right? So a trigger happens and then you react to the pattern and you're stuck in this pattern, okay? And so what Tony talked about, there's 3 levels of this. And honestly, when I met Tony Robbins back, 15, 16 years ago, like of all the things he did so many great things for me, so many things that I learned, and like I could go on to like all the frameworks I learned from him, but really like one of the most powerful things is he helped me become aware of my patterns. And when you become aware of something, then you can actually do something about it. Most people live their lives not even knowing that they have these patterns, and they're frustrated that they're not having the success they want, the happiness they want, the health they want, the whatever, and they don't realize it's all just because of these patterns. They have their middle school wrestling patterns, and they're trying to wrestle in college, and they're not having success, and they're just frustrated. Like, I'm working harder, but it doesn't matter. If you're out of position, right, for the analogy, if I'm out of position, those guys are going to beat me every single time. It's not me working harder. It's me realizing that I practiced imperfectly. And perfect practice makes perfect, not practice makes perfect, right? So I got to come back to the drawing board, reset my patterns, and then practice perfectly to build the correct patterns, okay? All right, so here's Tony's 3 levels of patterns, okay? Level number 1, he says you have to recognize the pattern, okay? And this is, again, one of the greatest gifts I can give you is helping you to start recognizing patterns, okay? He said you got to identify patterns in your life, such as history or in your own habits or things that are happening, right? So what are the patterns? So I think about this all the time, like with myself specifically. Like, let's say I'm struggling with my wife. I'm like, okay, every time we get to this certain circumstance or situation or whatever, like things unravel. Like, why? And most times like, oh, we're so frustrated, versus like, okay, what's the pattern that's happening here? There's this input and then I'm slipping into a pattern. What is the pattern, right? We figure out what that thing was. I'll share a really good example with this. So growing up in wrestling, a lot of you guys know wrestlers, we cut weight. Like, that's what we do. Especially when I was in high school, like we used to cut a lot of weight. In fact, all the way until man, my senior year in high school, there were 3 kids in the country that all died from cutting weight, and so they changed the rules and stuff, which was way better for the sport. But prior to that, like, I would come in on a Monday morning weighing 160 pounds, and by Thursday I was weighing 130. So I'd lose 30 pounds, and then by Sunday I'd be back to 160, and by next Thursday back down to like I was losing 30 pounds a week in and week out, right? But that's just the game, and it's water weight, so don't send me your health advice. Every time I talk about weight cutting, people send me all the health advice. I'm like, you don't understand. You don't lose 30 pounds by eating less calories. Like, you do it by like squeezing the water out of your body, right? It's a different mindset. But I did that every single week for 12 years of my life, through middle school, high school, and college. Like, I was coming in and losing, 15, 20, 30 pounds every single week. So what happened is, like, I was so strict all week long, right? Like, I ate healthy, cut out water, all the things. I'm not going to teach you. Maybe I'll do a training in the future on how to cut weight. That could be a whole different video that like 4 of you guys would care about. But I had a whole pattern. Then we'd weigh in. After weigh-ins, you try to get as much nutrients to your body as possible because you're wrestling an hour later. So you get the right nutrients, light things, get energy back up. Then you go out there and wrestle, right? And then you're like, hey, I have a week to next weigh-in. So what do? You eat everything. You haven't eaten in 5 days. So you eat so much and you drink so much, and it's just like you're consuming because you're just starved, right? And so then I blow up, gain my 60, back to 160 pounds. Monday came in, jump on the scale. Oh crap, 30 pounds over. Now we start the process, eating perfectly, dieting, losing weight, like all the stuff back down. And so like that was the pattern for 12 years of my life. Okay. And then I get done with wrestling, and I'm no longer competing. My wife and I are, living our life. We have twins. She gets pregnant with twins, and it's a funny season of our life because she's now got 2 babies inside of her. And so she's eating for 2. I just got done wrestling. And so I'm no longer working out. And my wife's eating a ton of food. And I'm like, I'm going to eat food too. So we should both start eating. And both of us gain in the next, 4 or 5 months, we both gain like 50, 60 pounds, right? And so I'm like, and she's big because she's pregnant. And then the craziest thing happened. One day, December 11th, she has twin babies and loses like 50 pounds overnight. And I'm sitting here like, my weight's still here, right? And I had that weight for the next 8 years. Could not get it off. Tried everything. And what I started seeing to myself is I would come in every single Monday. And I eat super healthy Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. I see my weight dropping. And then Friday would happen. Weekend starts. What I would do? I just made weight. And I'd go in all weekend long. Boom, boom, boom. Come back over the weekend. I was like, I gained a pound, right? From the weekend prior. And I lose weight. Weekend party, eat a ton of food. This is Mormon partying. So this is me just eating a lot of food, going to Burger King and eating all sorts of stuff, right? And so like for 8 years, I was this cycle happening over and over and over. And it was crazy. It wasn't until my friend Carrie Woodward, she and she had wrestling brothers and stuff, but she looked at me one day and she's like, you realize you have an eating disorder, right? I'm like, what are you talking about? I don't have an eating disorder. And she's like, no, you do. She's like, look at like the pattern. You literally are in the same pattern that you were in your entire wrestling career. Like, you eat healthy, you eat flawless, like perfect execution, and the weekends you gain it all back. And you do that thing, and like you're in the exact same cycle the last 8 years you've been doing for the 12 years prior. And I was like, oh my gosh. And suddenly I was aware of the pattern, which is phase number 1, right? Recognizing the pattern. I recognize the pattern. This is why I can't lose any weight. There's this pattern that was built subconsciously, right? And it's there. And I didn't even know it was there. So if I don't know it's there, it controls me forever. Unless I'm aware of it, I can't fix it. So step number 1, phase number 1, write this down, tattoo it to your hand. Recognize the pattern. What is the pattern you're rolling into? Okay. Again, health, fitness, business, whatever it is, right? What is the pattern that is negatively holding you back? You have to recognize it. Okay. Phase number 2 now in Tony's process is then you have to learn how to use the patterns. Okay. So after you see the pattern, it's like, okay, now I know this is my pattern. How do I use that pattern for my good? Right. So for me with the eating thing, it was like, okay, now I know this. So I'm like, if I can just survive Saturday and Sunday, Friday night, Saturday and Sunday, I'm going to be okay. Right? It's the pattern is the weekends I'm going to party because I feel like I made weight so I can eat whatever I want, right? And so for me, it was like, okay, now I know the pattern. I'm aware of it. I recognize it. And I can use that pattern, right? So I start figuring out how to use that pattern. How do I use that in a way that's going to be beneficial? So for me, it was like, okay, now I know this is my weak spot. So I got to fortify myself. How do I make sure Friday, Saturday, and Sundays I'm good? And then when I do that, then Monday starts, and now I'm starting back off again, right? And so I started tweaking things around. And so, I'm not going to go deep into all the things I was doing, but as soon as I was able to recognize the pattern and figure out how to use the pattern, right, how to manipulate it, then I started having more and more success, right? My weight started coming down, things got better, and like so much of that came from like understanding the pattern, okay? So phase number 2 is like using the pattern. But there's a next phase, which is even better. And I'll get to that here in a second, but that's for a lot of you, it's gonna be the next phase, right? So it's like, I keep trying to launch my funnel, but I'm not having success. Well, why not? And I probably ask a couple questions. You're like, well, I'm on my 30th try, or you're like, I don't have an offer yet. And I'm like, how long have you been listening to me? Like, I'm listening to you for 3 years, read every book. I'm like, you don't have an offer yet? That's step number one. You got to create an offer, right? Or it's like you get in this learning cycle, right? Because it feels good to learn. I see this all the time where people are like, the pattern they have is like, I love learning. I go to seminars, events, listen to podcasts, read the book, and they get in this learning pattern because they love it. It feels good, but they're not in a pattern to be successful, right? So it's like, oh my gosh, I'm in a learning pattern. When I was in college, or I was in high school, I used to love to learn. I felt smarter. I felt like significance, but the fact I was smarter than other people. So I loved learning. So I went to school, and for some of you guys, especially you guys who are like, you've got your master's and your doctorate and you're like you're just in this pattern of like, I love to learn. I'm going to acquire all this knowledge, but you're not in a pattern of executing, getting things done, right? So you realize like the reason I'm not successful, I've been stuck in this pattern, and I'm in this pattern because it gives me significance and happiness and all these things from back when I was in high school and then middle school and college, right? And it's like, I'm in the same thing now where I'm just learning and I'm stuck in this pattern, right? Maybe it's not you. Maybe it's like you got the thing out, but now you got the funnel live and you did all the pieces, like you created it all, but you're not getting traffic. And it's like, why am I getting traffic? It's like, well, what's your pattern? Okay, there's a pattern that's holding you back from doing it, right? What's the subconscious pattern? Like, well, every day I wake up and then I come and what are you doing? Like, I don't know. I would ask these questions to figure out what the pattern is. After you're aware of it, it's like, hey, well, the pattern to get people to come to your funnel is this, right? There's two ways, either free or paid. If you're doing free traffic, it's like you need to create a new pattern. Oh, sorry, I'm showing you guys what phase 3 is, but it's like I got to create a new pattern that's going to get me the outcome, right? So what's the pattern? Okay, it's me, my wrestling coach, is saying, Russell, you're losing because your elbows are out. Okay, what's the new pattern? Coming back, elbows in. Now I'm going to drill and drill and drill 1,000 times, 2,000, 5,000 times this way until it becomes subconsciously inside of there. And then now instinctively when it hits, the pattern is the correct pattern I go to, right? So I kind of skipped ahead, but phase number 3 for Tony is then creating a new pattern. Okay, so phase 1, recognizing pattern. Phase 2, learning how to use those patterns to be more successful. But step number 3, phase number 3 is way better, which is now creating a new pattern. Okay, you have this old pattern, it's been great. Okay, but now you got to create a new pattern. So what's the new pattern that we're consciously creating? Not the one that was given to us because our dad said something to us, or our family member, or someone at school made fun of us, or whatever the thing is, right? It's like, what's the pattern I want to create? And I consciously create this thing, okay? And this is where, morning routines people talk about, or habits, like how do we make something habitual? Habitual habits are things that you just do over and over and over again until it becomes a pattern, right? And so at the beginning though, you have these pre-built patterns that are either helping you or they're holding you back, right? When I get to the third phase and me create new patterns, like it's coming back and saying, okay, I'm going to create a pattern, but I'm doing it consciously, right? And so if very first consciously, it's going to be slower, right? I got to do the thing. I got to practice. I got to practice again. I got to practice again. I got to practice again. I'm drilling the move, right? I'm driving to the office. I'm driving to the office. So eventually it becomes the pattern. Okay. And you got to drill that thing like repetition over and over. Like repetition is such a big part. Like you do the repetition until it becomes a new ingrained pattern. Okay. Patterns are kind of like ruts in a field. Like think about a tractor, right? A tractor's out there in the field and it's doing the tractoring thing and it's going through all the field, right? And let's say the field's wet a little bit, right? So it goes through and it starts like digging these ruts into the mud and into the dirt, right? And then the mud hardens and stuff, and now these huge divots, these huge ruts, right? And if I'm driving a tractor, I could drive to the rivets, I could jump out of it, and they'll snap into those ruts, right? And it'll follow that pattern, right? That's what's happening in our brain. We've done things so many times, there's these ruts. So for us, it's like, hey, if I'm going to be successful, like I can understand, okay, here's the ruts, here's what's happening. Like I'm aware of it now, I'm seeing it. But if I want to really be successful, I got to create the new ruts, right? The new pattern. So I got to stop the tractor, get some boards, drive it out of these ruts and say, okay, now what's the ruts I need it to be in to be successful? And you start building it, cultivating it, drilling it over and over and over again until it becomes a new pattern, okay? And so that's the key there on step number 2, right? Is the pattern. So again, Tony's 3 phases. Phase number is recognizing patterns. Phase number 2 is using the patterns. And then the best phase is moving into creating your own patterns, right? They're going to get you the new moves, get you the success, okay? All right. So before I move on to step number 3, I got something really cool to share with you guys. And it happens to be about my favorite company on the planet called ClickFunnels. Now, obviously, if you want to sell stuff online, you're going to need a good funnel. But if you want a great funnel, you're going to need to use ClickFunnels. ClickFunnels is the #1 funnel builder in the world, helping more first-time entrepreneurs to leave their 9-to-5 and to launch their dreams than any other company that you've ever heard of. ClickFunnels was built for the dreamers and the doers. And you can get a free 14-day trial by clicking on the link in the description or going to clickfunnels.com/YouTube right now. ClickFunnels, because you're one funnel away from changing the world. Okay, so with that said, the third piece, and this is the key, this is the master key, okay? I told you guys this episode, there's a master key, and this is what the master key is. When you understand this is the part that is the key. And I found this randomly. You guys know Viktor Frankl. I wrote Man's Search for Happiness, like one of the best books of all time. But there's a quote, and I can't remember if it came from that book or another book. I bought everything he's ever written because he's amazing. But there's this quote, and this is the thing that unlocked everything for me, okay? You think about patterns, right? There's usually something that happens. There's the stimulus and there's a response, right? And so someone hits us. We get the email. We see the thing on swipe. Someone shoots on our legs. Someone, like, fill in like whatever that version is for you. Okay, you get depressed. You get anxiety. You get fear. You get whatever. Like, there's some stimulus and then there's the response, right? And that's what happens. And so this response typically, by default, is going to be the pattern that you've done the most, right? Stimulus happens, boom, you instantly hit into, or your stimulus hits, you instantly hit into your subconscious pattern, okay? And so this quote, like, it gave me so much freedom when I understood, like, again, this is the master key. So this is what he said. You guys ready for this? This is the writer downer. I'll read it twice because it's so important. Now, Viktor Frankl said, between the stimulus and the response, there's a space. And in that space lies our freedom and power to choose our responses. In our responses lies our growth and our freedom. Do you guys catch that? Between the stimulus and the response, okay? So the thing happens, the trigger happens, your subconscious response. He said, between the stimulus and the response, there's a space, okay? It's a gap. It's a little tiny space, and it's not long. It's very, very short, right? There's this gap. There's a space. It says, in that space lies our freedom and our power to choose our response, to choose the pattern we want, okay? That's the problem most people have. They don't choose the pattern. Stimulus hits, response, boom, in subconscious pattern, and it's going to either serve them or it's going to destroy them. And it happens every single day, 100 times every single day or more, right? Okay? In that space lies our freedom and power to choose our responses. In our response lies our growth and our freedom. Okay? That's the key. That's the master key, is understanding that we have a choice. We need to become aware of our patterns because there's going to be a stimulus and there's going to be a response. Okay? And by default, you are running off of response. You know, again, wrestling, it's my middle school thing that I drill, right? I'm at a college level trying to compete, and all of a sudden the stimulus hits, and my response is a middle school wrestling response, right? The guy takes me down easily. And I'm like, man, I got to work harder. No, you got to work harder. You have to fix the response. Okay? The pattern is incorrect. Okay? Perfect practice makes perfect, not just practice makes perfect, right? So right now, you have been living your entire life up to this point, practicing imperfectly. Like the subconscious responses have been happening because of just life happening. You were not aware of it, right? Now you're aware of it, right? Phase number one from Tony, become aware of the pattern, right? Now when the stimulus hits, I'm aware, oh my gosh, my pattern is always to do this, okay? My pattern is when Friday happens, I'm gonna go eat as much as possible because I feel like I just earned like free food because I've been cutting weight all week, even though I'm not cutting weight anymore, right? Stimulus response, stimulus, I become aware of the pattern. Stimulus hits, I become aware of the pattern, and now there's this space. And the space happens, and it's very short, okay? Where I can go and I can figure out what is the pattern I want to move to, okay? And then we start doing that, right? We build a new pattern, we create the new pattern, we go there over and over and over again until it becomes the correct response, okay? But until it does, and it's gonna take a while, right? You have to realize that there is a space between the stimulus and response. Somebody says something to you, instead of responding, you stop. You're like, okay, the pattern I normally go to is anger. The pattern I normally go to is fear. The pattern I normally go to is tears or whatever, right? No. What's the pattern I need to go to that's going to give me the like, what's the new ruts I got to create? What's that look like? Okay, here's the new ones. I got to create the new pattern, okay? And that's how you start growing in life, you guys. That's how you start having more success. That is the master key, is starting to come back and looking at this whole thing, stimulus response. Okay, here's the stimulus. What's the pattern that I'm responding to? And so think about any area of your life you're not happy with. It could be your finances, it could be your family, it could be your spouse, your kids, it could be your coworker, it could be whatever, right? When you start becoming hyper aware of the stimuluses that are happening, right? What is the stimulus? And then when that stimulus happens, what's your response? Okay. And I watch this all the time with coaching clients. I have a chance, I don't do a lot of it, but I have my inner circle, I do one-on-one coaching with them. And it's always interesting because like I'll ask them a ton of questions. People are like, you just sit there for because like there's this thing we call decade a day. I give people 15 minutes, and I'll spend 10 minutes just asking them questions. And they're like, why do you keep like I just want you to solve my problem. And I'm like, and I keep asking questions. They're like, so interesting. And then I ask questions for like 10 minutes or so, and all I'm really doing is trying to understand like their stimulus response. Like, what's the pattern that they're in? And I ask the questions. And eventually, I'm like, okay, this is the pattern you're in. And because they paid for me to coach them, I'll tell them like, this is the pattern you have. Like, you got to like, here's the tweak. This is how you change the pattern. Right now, every time you say this, you default to, and you see it sometimes in their face, like they'll talk about their business and they'll sigh and they'll get sad and they'll look around like I can see you. Like, you're not going to have success in this business. I can see that, right? I see the response is happening. Like, the pattern's happening. It's showing up on your face and I can see it by asking you a couple of questions. And sometimes they're excited about the business, but then you ask them about their team or you ask them about traffic or about whatever the thing is, right? And they see the response, the physiological shift in their countenance happens because of that. And I can stop and be like, okay, they're like, you were so happy telling me about your vision. And the second I asked you about your team, everything dropped. I was like, I saw the pattern, right? We got to fix that pattern. If you hate your employees, you got to go, like, there's the pattern. So either you got to learn how to love them or you got to get new employees or like whatever that thing might be, right? Or sometimes I see people who, they have this response where it's like, they want to grow a business, but they have pain associated with it, right? I have a friend who, man, this is probably 20 years ago. He had way too much success too fast, and it destroyed him, his life, his marriage, got into drugs, alcohol, like lost everything. And it's fascinating now. He's come on the other side of that, and I watch him as he starts new eras of his life. He starts having some success, and every time he gets this little glimpse of success, he just self-implodes, and he doesn't understand why. I keep trying to tell him, I'm like, because you liken success to ultimate failure. So even though you consciously want success, your body's like, last time I had success, this is what happened to me, right? And so it's built patterns to make sure that you never happen that ever happens to you again. So because of that, he can never have success. I'm like, you got to become hyper aware of that pattern, right? And then you got to go create new patterns, because until you do, you will never, like, your subconscious is moving so fast, right? 27,000 times faster in your conscious mind. As soon as you're thinking about it, sorry, not happening, like, you can feel it, you can see it, people can see it externally on you, right? When you think about it, when you start going towards it. And so it's just such a key to start understanding those things. And so think about any area of your life you're not happy, and think about the stimuluses that are happening and then the pattern that automatically responding, okay? And you have to come back and say, look, for me to be more successful, it's not for me to work harder or work longer hours or do anything. It's me fixing the stimulus, the response to my stimulus, fixing the pattern, rebuilding the pattern in a new way, right? Me coming from middle school to wrestling in college, like, I could put in 20 hours a day and I'm not going to get any better because my elbows are always out, because that's the pattern I drilled my entire middle school, right? I have to stop that. I have to change the pattern, get in the right stance, and then drill that as many times as possible till that becomes the pattern. The ruts get deeper and deeper and deeper, right? It moves from being conscious to subconscious. Now I'm out there wrestling. I don't even know what's happening. I shake hands, everything disappears, and I'm wrestling, and all of a sudden it's like, I feel like I don't even know, subconsciously, 27,000 times faster. Subconsciously, my brain's like, feels he moved. That means his legs open, boom, right? And like that fast, in position, shot, elbow correct, like boom, and like it happens, right? But that's the way the game is played. And it's not just in athletics, it's in business, it's in entrepreneurship, it's in relationships, it's everywhere. And so that is the key. That's the thing you guys have to learn and understand and master. Okay, really quick before we move on. Do you guys have a funnel, but it's not converting? If so, the problem 99% of the time is your funnel is good, but you suck at selling. And if you want to learn how to sell so your funnels will actually convert, then get a ticket to my next Selling Online event by clicking on the link in the description or go to sellingonline.com/YouTube right now. Okay, so to wrap everything up, if you want to change your life, the master key, okay, is again, number one, you have to start becoming really, really good at recognizing the patterns, right? What's the pattern? Okay. Number two is realizing that between the pattern, or between the stimulus and the response, the trigger and the pattern, there's space. And in that space, you have the opportunity to stop and to choose the pattern you want, right? It's the pattern interrupt. You gotta like interrupt the pattern. There's some space. And then from there, you're rebuilding with a new pattern. And you gotta drill that new pattern until it becomes second nature, until it becomes the default, until it becomes the response. And when you do that, then when life comes at you, business, personality, whatever, like you've created the correct pattern that's going to take you to the result you want. And that's literally the key. It's so fascinating because for years of my life, I've tried so much to like outwork it, outdo things. And like there's a lot that goes to hard work, right? And hard work is good at helping you build the habits and the things like that. So I'm not against hard work. In fact, I love hard work probably more than most people. But what's crazy is like, instead of like trying to push a car up a hill where someone inside's got the foot on the brake, if I can stop, like take the foot off the brake and like fix things, change the pattern, then it becomes really simple and really easy. And so, yeah, that's what I want to share with you guys today. I hope it was helpful for you. It's fun for me to talk about this kind of stuff because most of the time I'm talking about business, and it's like the reality is like the squeeze page isn't the thing that's holding you back. It's your ability or your willingness to follow, like to get out of the pattern that's holding you back and get the right pattern. Like that's really like the bulk of what I do with people when I have a chance to work one-on-one with them. It's less about the tactics, because the tactics of business is actually pretty easy. The hardest thing is like recognizing and rebuilding your patterns that'll allow you to actually execute the game plan. Because the game plan is simple. I've written about it in all my books. You've got any of them. You got .com secrets, expert secrets. You have all the books. You've got the plans. It's just your response when the thing hits you. Okay. What does Mike Tyson say? Everybody's got a plan until you hit in the face, right? You have a plan consciously and you hit in the face and your subconscious takes over. And depending on how you've trained that, depending on the patterns you have consciously built to correctly respond to the punch in the face is how the success looks on the other side of it. So that's that. I hope that helps. Thank you guys so much for listening to the show. I appreciate you all. Thank you for allowing me to serve you guys. I love it. I love you. I cannot wait to see how you change the world. Thanks so much, and we'll talk to you guys all soon. Bye.